All right, Coach, on to a new week. So, how much confidence has you guys built just through this 2-0 start?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely confidence in winning, and I think hopefully that becomes contagious. But just so much stuff we got to clean up from last game. I mean, just a bunch of unexcusable things that we did on our part, just self-inflicted wounds. And I thought it started in the kicking game, as bad as the kicking game's been since I've been here. With the first kick, I mean, the field position battle. We allowed them to get it right off the jump, and then we really the first quarter couldn't ever get it back, and they had executed in the punt game really well. They pinned us the first couple, but just bad. First time probably I thought Drew was a little bit rattled, to be honest with you, and two, we get it down, we get it out the first time, get it to 3rd and 1. Instead of just handing it off and getting a hard-earned yard there, we try to throw a go ball. Then just had some miscommunication errors on the second drive that really set us back, and those were only 2 drives in the first quarter. So extremely slow start for the offense. We can't do that against good teams. And then two, I thought, just the field position battle was something that we got to clean up. I mean, we've had the luxury for 2 years to have, a strong leg at our kickoff guy, and we boom him out of the end zone, and it's something that never comes up. And then all of a sudden, we don't hit the kicks very well in the game, which we didn't execute the kicks to start with. So, I mean, we got to get better in that regard, first and foremost, for our kickers. And throughout the whole game. I mean, even the last one, we're trying to hit a sky kick, and it looks like an onside kick. And, I mean, it's just unexcusable for us to put them in a position to drive down with the win and possibly kick a game-winning field goal. So a lot to clean up for us. But the one thing I was proud of, the second half, I thought we kind of got our mojo back. I thought offensively we scored in 5 of the 6 drives we had in the second. Defense was unbelievable, especially in the fourth quarter, stopping the run, getting them off balance, getting them in 3rd and longs. I thought they stayed on schedule early. And then the second quarter was really the only quarter I thought the defense really struggled. I mean, we had some miscommunication things where we allowed some guys to get, just wide open touchdowns. And so, just so much to clean off of that tape. Same time, I think this team, the last 2 years we've lost those football games, and so the grittiness, the toughness, for us to keep battling and shoot, not until the last play did we ever have the lead in that game, which was pretty cool to see our guys. So we gotta make corrections. This team we're about to play is really well coached. They're tough, they're gritty. They'll make us pay for some of those mistakes a little bit more, I think. And so we got to lock it in a little bit, and we got to be, a little bit more attention to detail this week.
Yeah, that kickoff at the end, did he just mishit that? It looked like okay.
Yeah, I mean, I did not call an onside kick at that point in the game, I promise you.
Yeah, it looked like kind of a weird.
I got a couple text messages on the phone asking what the hell I was doing kicking an onside and shit. And I said,
Yeah, I mean, but on the bottom line here is you guys are 2-0 again for the second straight year, which is a good development for you guys. Did you learn anything last year after starting 2-0 about handling success that maybe these guys can carry into this next couple of weeks?
Well, hopefully just, the way we won this one and how poor we played in a couple different parts of that game. And it was just so sporadic, I thought, both sides. I mean, I think, the slow start on offense was noticeable. I mean, just awful. And then, we get it going a little bit offensively in the second, and the defense not very good in the second quarter with a bunch of, mental breakdowns. And then we come out, the good thing is I thought we refocused well at halftime. We made some adjustments. They did some things we'd never seen, which is what's going to happen. That's not an excuse. We got to be better coaches than that. And so, for us to be able to come out in the second half, perform the way we did, and then reset one more time, and I think even you look back, just the small things, we have a great play called, we felt like, on 3rd and 1 from the 1.5 to win the game in regulation, and we jump off sides. That's not a disciplined football team. And so, we got to clean all those things up and think our lucky stars were found a way to win that one. But yeah, I think last year, went on the road and Texas Tech was as embarrassed as I've ever been, being the head coach here as far as the way we played that day. And so we know what these guys are. They're coming to our house, a really good program. I mean, this head coach has lost 3 games since he's been a head coach. And so, which is incredible, right? So a ton of respect. And I have, a little bit more of a personal respect for this place. Just being in Pullman 2 different times, I know what it's like to be a Coug. I know that, blue collar, bring your lunch pail to work every single day in Pullman, and so yeah, I know that they'll come out and they'll be ready to play.
Yeah. How about Jim Toe? You think you're going to have him this week, and how are you guys health-wise?
Yeah, so tackle's obviously been a big one for us. I mean, we got 3 guys who are in our 2 deep that have been out the last 2 weeks, and so I think with Jim Toe practiced limited today, Ugana practiced limited today, and so hopefully we'll see as those guys progress through the week, how they're able to, if they can get better throughout the week, get more and more reps. I hate putting a guy in, especially at that position that hasn't had a ton of reps during the course of the week. And so we got to find, early in the game, I thought, the tackles were a liability. But, at the same time, I thought that when Keon came in, Keon Johnson was the first time he's played, and I thought he actually played pretty damn well and got some movement for us in the run game and did a nice job holding up in the pass pro. And so we'll have some options. We got to mix it up the next couple of days and see who's kind of available.
Coach, you kind of mentioned that Drew's performance was the first time that you saw him kind of rattled. Why do you think that was? What do you think Western Michigan was doing to keep you guys off balance?
Yeah, and too, nothing bad, nothing catastrophic. He forgot a motion, that kind of did something. And then at the same time, Drew made some of the most unbelievable throws. That post back in line to Cam Dorner with a guy in his face, phenomenal with the game on the line. I think just those last couple drives, I thought he really got it going in the back of the end zone. He got us out of trouble one time with a sideline pass to Simeon. That was phenomenal. So did some really, really good things. And so I think that was kind of the first time I think that he got in the game and he had seen something completely different. They pressured a little bit different than what we thought, and we didn't have a ton of tape on them. And so those things will happen. But I thought, after the first 2 drives, he got settled in after a couple throws, and I thought he did some really nice things. And so I think, it comes with the territory playing that position, and you learn from playing these games. And so I thought I was really happy with the way he progressed through the game and his positivity on the sideline and telling us what he liked, what he didn't like. I thought he did a nice job.
Offensively as a whole, what were sort of the adjustments that you guys made heading into that second half?
Yeah, so their ends were just trying to get sacks every play, and they kind of disregarded the run game. And so, we had some stuff that we liked that we'd seen on tape that we thought, we could run some different gap scheme things on them. They just disregarded the run and just, ran straight at the quarterback. So we got into a little bit more inside zone. Trey Williams did a phenomenal job with this. It's, something that we hadn't practiced just a ton that week. Obviously we have it in the playbook, and he's ran it a ton versus our defense, but Trey was super physical in the run game, and to be able to get McKenzie and Kiefer downhill, I thought was huge for us. And so, yeah, it was mainly run game, adjustments just with how the ends were playing us. And then did some stuff that we thought, where we had to chip the ends. They were playing so wide and, getting some good jumps and end up catching them finally on a couple hard counts at some big points in the game that helped us get some cheap, easy first downs.
You mentioned that this team while you've been here, you've seen plenty of one-score games not go y'all's way. Just what is the difference between a close win like you guys just had and then, of course, a close loss that you guys have seen, in years past as well?
No, I think just collectively finding a way as a team to win it. It took us going back and forth. Just, you're down 14 points. There are some key points of the game getting late into the second half. And then, too, it's the first time, and maybe since I've been here, this will be a question for Doug, that we haven't gone for it on 4th down. And so that was because I felt really good about what the defense was doing. And, it's something that, I thought, we talked about it. If I feel comfortable as a play caller and head coach and making decisions as the way the game's going, the defense is holding them, I'm not going to go for it in some 4th down situations when I think that, our punter was phenomenal in the game and the kicking game. I shouldn't say all the kicking game because mainly kickoff was what hurt us. I thought Sawyer Evans did a phenomenal job transitioning the ball in the punt game. And then I thought our field goal was really good, field goal operation. But yeah, I think us relying on each other and just playing as a team and trusting one another, in all the crazy scenarios that happened. I think that we came together, we rose together. It wasn't just a one-sided deal or venture. We needed each other during the course of the last 10 minutes of that game and into overtime. And I thought everybody did a nice job stepping up to get stops. I thought we did a nice job offense of moving the ball down the field and converting it to points. And so that was the most satisfying thing for me as the head coach, is just to see a collective effort of everybody kind of coming together and winning it together.
Kiefer Sibley went out of the game this past weekend. Is there an update on him? Is he available for this Saturday?
Yeah, so probably not this Saturday. Didn't go today. We'll reevaluate him in the morning to see if he can get something done on Wednesday, but didn't practice today. So, our back situation is just our depth in that room. Jaden Becks came in late and gave us a little spark there with a couple explosive runs. And then I think, finding ways to, you got Ashton Gray still back there and find all those guys. And we got the puppy freshman there has done a nice job. Didn't play in this last game, but trusting him more and more as time goes.
And McGill scored the game-winning touchdown, broke 100 yards for the first time this year. Do you have confidence in this group to be able to be established for this entire offense throughout the rest of this year?
Yeah, I think so. McGill continues to get better. The only thing, we just got to continue to hone in on some of the small detail stuff with him, not running the football as far as, pass protection, just knowing where he's going, what he's responsible for. Being able to just, study his playbook and on kind of the little nuances that we tweak each and every week. And so, but as far as just running the ball, I think he's doing a fantastic job for us right now, and just got to continue to bring him along as he goes on other small details.
You're playing against a team that you coached for and you played with Mike Leach at Texas Tech and now in Washington State. Is there any advice or any speech or anything that Mike Leach said to you that you kind of carry on to this day?
Oh, just too many of them. I think, Mike's one of my biggest mentors ever. And so always enjoy to go back and get some YouTube videos. I think most of the people remember him, for how quirky he was and going off on some tangents on some interviews, about fat girlfriends or about marriage advice or candy corns. I mean, all the crazy, silly stuff. But I thought Mike did such a phenomenal job at getting a team to play so hard together on Saturday afternoon, Saturday morning, Saturday night. I never believed going into a game with him as a coach or a player that we didn't have a chance or weren't going to go out there and win the football game. I just think the confidence he instilled and breathed in people and was so big on execution, over, just scheming people up. We had to go out there and execute and win your one-on-one battles. And so this will be a game of that. I mean, this team's going to be well coached. They're going to be right time at the right spots, and we're going to have to out-execute them on both sides of the football. And so looking forward to that. And then, too, I think just, I'm real familiar with a bunch of these guys, especially on the offensive side of the ball, a bunch of guys I recruited over there that have played. I coached them. I've seen them. I know them. And so I think anytime, you build relationships with kids and you want to see them be successful throughout their career, obviously probably not, Saturday 2:30 and DADQ in front of a sellout crowd. So hopefully we can get over the mark and jump into getting this thing sold out for the first time ever. I mean, I think all the ticket sales sounds like been going great, and I think it'll be a great atmosphere for our players to come out. And it's going to make a huge difference in the game. I think it's going to be hot out there. It's the first time this team's traveled. Anytime we can get the energy from our crowd and their third downs, it's long and creating some confusion out there for them, I think will be a big deal for us on Saturday.
And you guys are going out to campus, I think it's Thursday. Is there any message to those students to really get them out from the tailgates to the games or just come out to the game period?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, it's a fun team to watch. I mean, I think watching this team fly around for the last couple of weeks, and then just to have an opponent like this coming into town and not technically our P4. I think when we scheduled this thing, they were P4 at the time. And so, but I think just a national brand football program, when you see that emblem, I mean, everybody knows where it is. It's recognized across the nation, probably the globe as well. And so just a great opportunity for us to try to go 3-0 with a great opponent coming in. Get your butts in the seats. It'll be fun.
Coach, one more question on Western Michigan. you know, in that second half, you guys were able to run the ball pretty effectively. I wanted to hear your thoughts on that interior offensive line and then Gabe Blair in particular this season so far.
Yeah, Gabe was graded out by far our highest offensive lineman that last game. I mean, I think just his knowledge of the game, his experience, all that stuff continues to show. I think his pass protection, he's always been an incredible run blocker. I mean, has great leverage and can move people in the middle. I think, you know, he keeps getting better at understanding what we're trying to do in some of our pass protection scheme. I think it's allowed him to really execute at a higher level. Braden Nelson, you know, I thought played extremely well as well on the edge for us. You know, just had a boneheaded penalty for us that's not acceptable. You know, while we're talking about the kicking game, and we had 2 boneheaded penalties that both showed up on our kicking game with us just not being disciplined. And those are things that aren't going to cut it, and those guys won't be playing here if that continues to happen. So just so many things to clean up. But yeah, Gabe Blair was phenomenal, continues to be phenomenal for us.
And what would it mean to this program just to sell one of these things out in one of these games?
Yeah, pretty wild. You know, in my opinion, just in only being here 3 years, but I think, you know, the stadium was built, in 10 or 11, something like that, was the opening season. And so, yeah, I mean, we're getting into that 15-year, you know, mark right here. And so I think just a great opportunity for us to showcase. I mean, we have a beautiful facility. The game day atmosphere was really good, the first one. You know, we have 44,000 plus students here. I mean, that student section should be full. There's no question about it. I mean, I think, you know, just how we're marketing everything and how fun the games are. I mean, you know, all the pregame activities and concerts going on, you know, all the things for kids to do, for families to do, the tailgating, and then coming in and being able to just enjoy, you know, a great football game. Weather, I think, some, you know, 84, 85 degrees. And so, you know, not a bunch of negatives with any of that stuff right there. They sell cold beer in the stadium now, so you don't have to stay outside to drink your beer. I don't know if they had no liquor, just beer in there. So there's a car in the corner, yeah. So if you need a margarita or a Crown and Coke, you just go to the corner and you get one, right?
And obviously, you've coached a couple of times at Washington State. How did the time at Washington State impact your growth as a coach?
Yeah, I think, you know, I'm from a really small rural town outside of Lubbock. It's a farming community. I think Pullman is really similar to that. I think most people don't understand, you know, on the eastern side of Washington, you know, I think they're the state, I mean, the nation's largest producer of wheat in that county. And so a ton of wheat fields. I just think there's not a ton out there. And so everybody comes together. And I think you get close to people in the community, in the town, because everything's about Washington State, right? And, you know, a town of 20,000 people, and they have a big-time college there, I think it's a really cool atmosphere that brings people together. And so I just think people are proud to be, you know, Cougs. I mean, and I was proud to be there. I mean, I think my kids, we love the community, going to school there, raising a family. I think was something that do. It's hard, you know, not many grocery stores or places to shop or any of that stuff. But if you enjoy the outdoors and hunting and fishing and hiking and doing all the things outdoors, then Pullman's the place for you.
You've mentioned a couple of times from your time at Washington State that it was always difficult to travel. Do you guys have a huge advantage this week just with, you know, you're bringing a bunch of West Coast kids into what could be a pretty hot game and a long trip like that? Does that give you a bit of an edge this week?
Yeah, I think anytime you're thrown off by, you know, you're just not used to practicing in those conditions, it can go a lot of different ways, right? And I remember being up in Pullman, you know, I thought anytime late in the season, you know, you could get anybody from Arizona or Southern Cal that come up and travel up there, and it's, you know, 21 degrees and some snow in the, you know, packed up in the corners. Those guys didn't usually want to be out there. And so, you know, that's something, I mean, these guys will be in shape. I mean, and it's not going to be just a burner. But yeah, I mean, I think we're a little bit more conditioned into playing in this weather. You know, we've done it now for the last four or 5 months, you know, since they've been here all summer long, and then throughout camp. I think that, you know, we've been used to practicing. But I don't think, you know, it's not going to be 120 on the turf like it's been the last couple months. So, but yeah, hopefully we can, you know, get them tired.
Yeah, I want to ask you a little bit about Simeon Evans. What have you seen from him as he's kind of gotten in here and progressed in your program?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some battles right now. Just, you know, I think between him and Cam Dorner, I mean, they've both done nice things for us out there. I think they're a pretty good combination out there. A tough kid, played quarterback. His football IQ is super, super high. He just understands the game. I think, he's got great body control, great catch radius. And so, putting back as our kick returner, he's never returned kicks and did it last week. Smart guy, almost as like a running back playing receiver, just the way he carries the football with strength. And so, happy we have him.
Yeah, and you had to talk him into being a wide receiver after his stint there at Army?
So he did that. Well, he actually started playing it at Sam Houston. I think, he's a quarterback originally. Probably a pretty good triple option quarterback, how the way he's built and how smart he is. And then I think he went to Sam as a quarterback, started off, and then ended up transitioning over to Sam, playing receiver. One of their top wideouts, has played a ton of games, made a lot of huge catches in games. And so, he was already pretty natural at the receiver position by the time we got him here.
Hey, Coach, Washington State's defense was able to hold San Diego State to just 215 yards of offense. So just what are you looking for from your offense starting this game and going up strong against maybe a defense with some momentum?
Yeah, I mean, the defense has been good, since he's been calling it. I mean, I think you look back at some of his South Dakota State film, I mean, it's not like people are racking up yards against him and moving the ball down the field. So, this is one of the top defense in the nation right now. He's used to calling one of the top defenses, this head coach is, and so we have all the utmost respect for what he's been able to do, right? And so, I think watching these first two teams, the Idaho tape, they wanted a bunch of big bodies in there, tight formations, tight ends, extra O linemen, tried to slow the game down, pound it out, and find a way to win at the end, which I thought was a pretty good game plan for Idaho. Had a chance there at the end to win it. Washington State went on a great 2-minute drive that did it. And then one of the big things, I think they play pretty good complementary football. This quarterback hasn't turned the ball over. I think just they're protecting the football really well on offense. And then just finding ways, last week we were able to get a safety late and then transition the momentum and score late and then did a nice job gaining some momentum right at the end of the half, and then came out and were able to kind of control that game after that. And so, Jimmy has done a great job calling defense this isn't a new thing for them. You go back and watch what, he's done the last how many ever years at South Dakota State. I mean, they've been phenomenal. So tough test for us on the offensive side. We got to protect the football. One thing that we have done well the last couple of weeks is we've done a really nice job, Drew has, of protecting the football.
Then going 3-0 to start the season would be y'all's best start since 2018. Just speak to how this team has impressed you early on this season.
Yeah, we got to take it 1 week at a time. Obviously the good and the bad of the last 2 weeks, and we got to put all that behind us. We got a brand new challenge. It'll be our toughest challenge yet. There's no doubt about that. And so for us to be able to forget all that stuff, learn from the bad that we had last week, we can't put ourselves in some of those positions again. That's going to come back to bite us. And so learn from those things, grow, get a week better, get some of these guys back healthy, and go out there and do what we love to do, and that's play football on Saturdays.
Last question. Yeah, just to wrap up here, it seemed like some of your skill position players have started to kind of come on here. Have you, after losing your 3 top wide receivers last year and kind of changing around on running back, is this starting to kind of come together here a little bit with the guys you're working with on offense?
Yeah, I think so, and I think I think what Wyatt Young's been able to do, what Miles Coleman, I think Miles had, probably his biggest off game that he's had since we've been here as far as him. Had a couple uncharacteristic drops in that last game, but someone we trust. He's somebody that's proven himself over and over again. He's practiced phenomenally the last 2 days. We talked about all the running back stable that we have, really growing to trust all those guys. And then, tight end Trey Williams continues to do a good job, can do a bunch of different things, very versatile. We played more 11 personnel this year than we have the first 2 years, just because I think Trey gives us that versatility. And then our outside guys, really at our X position is something we got to get that position going a little bit. And I thought, Landon did some good stuff, but also, he wasn't quite himself last week. And then we got to find out between Barron Tipton and Terrence Lewis kind of over there, someone to step up, one of those younger guys at the X receiver to spare Landon a little bit. So, yeah, I think, we got, 8 or 9 of them that we feel really confident in right now of spreading the ball around and getting it to a variety of different people. Thank y'all.
All right. All right, Drew, so you guys are 2-0 again. You were 2-0 last year. Were there any lessons you guys learned from last year that you can carry forward, maybe help you to perform a little bit better after going 2-0 this year?
I mean, I think it's just stacking days, stacking weeks back to back. Every week's a new opponent, and every week you just got to go 1-0 if you want to win in the long run. So it's just taking it week by week, I think, and day by day in those weeks, and just trying to win every day.
Yeah, Coach said that maybe last week was maybe the time that we saw a little bit of the product of not having a whole lot of experience on the college level. What did you learn from this last game that you can carry forward?
I think just for myself, dealing with adversity and dealing with, I don't think I played my best, but still came out with a win. And I think it's just overcoming those battles and then overcoming them as a team as well, and just coming out with the win still, even though we went through that adversity.
Yeah, how do you feel about where this team stands? You're pretty confident going forward at this point?
Yeah, I am. I think we got a great offensive group, and defense has been playing their butts off all year so far. So I think we got a good group.
Yeah, there's some questions coming into the year about your guys' group of wide receivers and running backs. You lost your top 3 after last year, had some turnover with the running back room. It seems like it's starting to come together. Do you feel that way, and have you seen these guys kind of progress these last couple of weeks?
Yeah, for sure. I think just being in an actual game setting with these guys, you kind of see who really thrives in game situations, and I think we've seen guys step up to the plate and step up into their new roles and really shine.
Yeah, one guy I wanted to ask you about is Simeon Evans, who came in this year. What have you seen from him, and what has he been like to play with over the course of these couple of weeks?
I mean, he's just a guy who's played a lot of football. He's a veteran presence in the receiver room, and I think just having him out there in the receiver room, and he's kind of just a guy you can count on out there to do the right thing, hit the right depths, catch the ball, be a strong guy through contact, and just it's good having a veteran presence out there on the field.
Offensively, you guys were held to just 7 points in that first half, and then obviously you never led in regulation. Just what was that whole, comeback attempt like for you guys?
I think it was just kind of taking it one drive at a time. We knew we needed to score points, but you couldn't score all of them at once, so it was just kind of taking it one drive at a time, trying to get in the end zone every time, but not being greedy and settling for points if we had to, and just chipping away at it. And we knew we could come back and win the game eventually.
You kind of mentioned it, right? But to give you guys a chance to come back, the defense did have to get a couple stops, especially late in that fourth quarter or in that fourth quarter as a whole. Just what did you kind of see from them from the sideline?
I think just playing a team like that runs the ball a lot, and it wears you down over the game. But for them to bow up and get some stops there at the end of the game was huge, and just really showed their grit and just perseverance through that whole game, and just coming together and bowing up at the end and giving us a chance to win.
And then your first college start was obviously an away game, but it was in Dallas. What was it like having an away game out of state this time around?
I mean, it was different, but at the end of the day, it's just football, and once the game started, it's all the same, and you just gotta play the best game you can. It's football at the end of the day.
What technical or mental adjustments were y'all able to make, especially you in the second half against that Western Michigan defense?
I think we started running the ball well in the second half, and just taking what the defense gave us and not forcing the ball downfield and forcing it into places it shouldn't be going, and just being patient, running the ball, and then when our shots came open, taking them.
What kind of impact does, McGill had 100+ yards. What kind of impact does he have on this offense throughout the rest of this year?
I mean, he has a huge impact. Just having a guy who gets downhill like that and, finishes runs, and all of our running backs do. Kiefer had a good game too. So having guys that get downhill and finish runs and fall forward, it's really huge to keep the sticks moving and, stay on schedule.
And what have you kind of seen from Washington State? They have a top 10, I think, passing defense, average 11.5 points a game. What have you kind of seen from them?
I mean, they're pretty multiple. They like doing some cover 3 stuff and cover 4 stuff, and I think we just got to go play our game. I think we have the skill positions and the front O-line and running back room to go put up some points. And so I think we just need to play our game and do what we know how to do and just go out there and execute.
There's a sellout DATCU initiative right now. Right now it's at about 20,000 according to the website. What does that kind of mean to you and the whole program to get a sellout for this type of game?
I mean, this is a huge game for us, and a game we've had circled on our schedule. So I know us in the facility, we're looking forward to this game, and this is a big game, and just to have the support of the community and the crowd there would be awesome.
Yeah, it looks like the Washington State's going to get one of their big players back, a safety back this week. Have you guys kind of looked at that defense, and do you think that'll impact them and make them just that much tougher to get that guy back?
Yeah, I mean, he's a great player, and to have someone like that coming back and fitting him back into the defense, it's obviously going to be different than the past couple weeks without him. But as I said, I just think we need to just do what we do, and at the end of the day, just execute our plays.
All right, thanks, Drew.
Thank you.
No, you were 2-0 last year as well. Is there anything that some of the veteran guys have talked about on this team about how that maybe you could handle it a little bit better going forward after getting off to such a great start?
Well, one thing for us is we have a big emphasis on 1-0. Like one thing we said after the first game is the best thing about being 1-0 is a chance to go 2-0. And now being 2-0, the best chance to go, or the best thing to do is be able to go 3-0. So we really focus on just taking it each day, each game, one step at a time.
Yeah, you guys really came through in the clutch defensively late in that game to get the stop late in regulation and then the 3-and-out in overtime. What impact did that have on you guys as a defense going forward to play like that?
I think the biggest thing is what kept us was just the passion. Like it was a lot of times where it's like we knew we had to get it done and we did that. So now I think moving forward is in the future, when it's time to make the play, if it's on us, it should be no blink of an eye. We have a great offense that, a lot of teams would love to depend on, but our emphasis is be able to make it where we can be dependent on if they need to depend on us. And I think moving forward, that's the way that we're going to move and having that passion, being ready whenever our number's called.
Give you guys some confidence on that side of the ball, the way the first couple weeks of the season's gone?
I think so, for sure. Even with these 2 games, there's a lot of stuff that we can improve, and seeing like how good we can play and still with a lot of room to get better and grow, I think that's the most exciting part of it, because it's like, dang, we're doing good, but we still have even more stuff that we haven't executed perfectly. So we're just moving towards to reach that perfection. And once we get there, it's just going to be like really fun, really scary.
Yeah, you guys get Washington State this week. They've got the big pro-style quarterback that's had a pretty good start to the season. What have you seen from the Cougs in the first couple of weeks in film study?
Well, they're definitely a great team. The quarterback, like you said, he's very methodical. He's going to take what we give him. So for us, our biggest emphasis is just being disciplined. Like they're a team that is just going to take what you give them. A lot of tricks, a lot of stuff like that. So for us to be able to be disciplined and handle and do our 1/11, I think that will help us to be successful for this game.
Yeah, and you played at Old Dominion last year, so maybe you got a little bit of insight. This is another cold weather team or another, a little bit more northern team coming down here to play in the heat. Do you think that gives you guys an edge in this kind of game?
I mean, I'm sure that they prepare for stuff like that, but I mean, we all know living in Texas, it get hot. So, I think that's something we should definitely use to our advantage. If that's just us flying around, being faster, I think that's definitely something that we could definitely use for an advantage. And if that's something that they have to think about, we'd love to execute on that and use that.
And working on a story on Simeon Evans, who came in this year. I'm sure you've gotten to know playing against at practice every week. What is he like as a guy to play with?
Real chill, mellow dude, a good guy. He's always gonna say what's up. But the crazy thing, he's just real mellow. Like outside the ball, like on the field, he plays with a bunch of passion. But you see him in the locker room, chill, laid back, not gonna say too much. We'll say hello, but he a good dude. Simeon, a good dude.
Yeah, you think he's really going to help you guys throughout this season? Seems like he's already made an impact for you.
I think so, for sure. Definitely. He's a guy who he plays with a lot of passion. He plays with a lot of fight, and you can see that with the way he runs the ball when he gets it.
Pat, so obviously, Western Michigan's a pretty different game than your Week 1 game against Lamar. What was the message from coaches, players to, make those adjustments and hold strong in that second quarter or that second half like you guys did?
Really just to settle in. That was one thing that everyone was saying was just settle in. Let's do our job, do what we're supposed to do. I feel like in the first half, there's a lot of stuff that we kind of gave them as far as not, executing the way we could have or executing the way we had and previously in Lamar. So the big message was just settle down. Like, settle down. You don't got to do nothing special. Just do what we practice every day. And I think in the second half, we did a lot better of that, of not doing anything like Superman out of ordinary, but just doing like what we practice.
And then, what was the energy for that defense when you guys get those stops in that fourth quarter and then eventually in overtime as well?
I mean, I feel like it fed the whole sideline. Like those stops and those plays, I mean, you could see it. Obviously, it's going to feed the guys on the field, but the sideline, it gave everyone that juice. And I know one of the big things was when we made a stop, we come off the field, offense, like we got y'all. Like everyone knew that we fed off of each other. Like getting those stops, the offense knew we're going to score. We're going to make this play because they're making these plays for us. And I think that's something we could definitely continue to grow on, is feeding through each other.
You came back into this program that was struggling defensively. So far this year, top 5 in passing defense, only allowing 87 yards last week. What do you feel like you guys adjusted on throughout this offseason, be able to hold teams to under 100 and under 150 total yards passing?
Well, Coach Cassidy's a great defensive coordinator. He's this whole time he really emphasizes on knowing our assignments and knowing our keys, and he always says, like, make your play. And I think that's something that a lot of us in the pass game and run game has been big on, just making your play when it comes, not having to overexert yourself, do too much. If the rush needs to rush, let them do that. And if we need to cover. And I think we've done a really good job of just in the pass game doing our job and being disciplined that way.
And you guys got David Fisher back last week. How much of an impact did he have in this game and going forward?
I think it was a huge impact just because, Fish, coming from Coach Cassidy, defense, he knows a lot. Like, he's a guy where, we give him the communication from a safety, but he's right there knowing the same exact thing. So I think that was a really big help having Fish back, plus his energy. He always brings a good energy on the field and on the sideline, so that was huge.
You're battling with Evan Jackson at that position. And what have you kind of seen from him, and how has he kind of stepped up before you got here?
Well, I was actually, when I came in, I was a redshirt freshman, and he was a true freshman. And we played a lot as young guys, so coming back and seeing him balling and seeing him is fun. Like, I love to see it. Me and him always talk about just the differences before, and it's crazy. Like, when I left, it was only a year, but you see the growth. I feel like from both of us, just on the field and also like maturity-wise too. So it's fun to see that.
Yeah, this game against Washington State is, tagged the Sellout DACU initiative and all that. Just, why should fans come out to this game, and what kind of product has the defense been putting out there on the field?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Why should fans come out to this game, support you guys, and then what kind of product has the defense been able to put on the field?
Well, having the fans there, they're a part of the defense. Third down, when they get loud, when they're excited, that helps us. And I think hopefully they can feed off of what we do on the field and the energy that we have, having them support us and them seeing a team that's flying around and a team that's going to give a lot of passion, a lot of effort, and a defense that's going to play gritty. I think that's what they can see from us, and having them is also going to help us do that, because when you're loud on third down, everyone knows that's like a 12th man on the field.
All right. Thanks, Pat.
Okay. Thank y'all.